Lisa is the CEO and founder of Milestone Franchising, her second venture built on real hands on experience as a franchise owner. She's a certified franchise consultant and a proud member of the International Franchise Professional Group, known for bringing a realistic, no fluff approach to business ownership. Working with candidates nationwide, Lisa's helped hundreds of people understand franchising objectively and make decisions with a solid foundation. Lisa, what did you study in college and what was your plan at that time?
Good question. I studied business administration and I minored in marketing, and I was working full time while going to school in the evening. So I'm the rare bird that actually was doing my career while I was going to college and then continued to do that for many, many years afterward.
That's very interesting. Did it all play out how you'd hoped for? Like, was franchising really what you were passionate about, what you were really focused on?
I was project management, marketing, I was a brand ambassador for a number of years. Like, I was through the gift industry. Like, no, franchising was nowhere, anywhere on my radar in any way, shape, or form. And it all just kind of fell into my lap one day, and then I was off to the races. But no, I was not looking for it. It found me.
And what particularly appealed about franchising to you? Because it sounds like a very niche area. And you said it fell on your lap and it found you, but what made you kind of hook towards it and enough to at least start a company?
So I was at the quintessential T in my career where I didn't know what was next. And I had been working from home for 10 years, well before it was a popular thing to do, and raising my kids. And my boss wanted me to come back in person. And I was like, oh no, that is not happening. And a franchise presented itself to me that would have been very work-life balance friendly and allow me to continue to be the mom I wanted to be and own my own business. And I said to my husband, if I don't check this out, I'm going to regret it for the rest of my life. And it was a marketing franchise on top of that.
Hmm.
And so I ended up going and having a long conversation with them, and they had been testing it for 5 years in the Philadelphia area. I'm in central New Jersey. And they said, actually, we're not even ready to franchise yet. And they had to put together a document called a franchise disclosure document. And so I became a consultant for them, doing, the work of what this franchise would be, see if I would even like it. I loved it, and I never looked back. So I was a franchise owner, multi-unit owner in New Jersey and Pennsylvania. And I watched a lot of people fall flat on their face. I came in and I started studying that because I was very successful with my franchise and I couldn't understand why they did not do well, and I
Hmm.
did. And I started seeing common threads. And I said, for my next act, I'm going to help people to understand what this world is and, more importantly, what it's not. One of the fallacies is that people think it's going to be super easy. It's not easy. It's still business ownership. You've got to give it your all.
Yeah. So, what's the basic breakdown of a cost benefit analysis of starting your own company or attaching yourself to an existing one, like in being a franchise?
Yeah. So the way I look at it is that the franchise does a lot of the heavy lifting for you, and they prove out, at least they're supposed to, prove out the system and make sure that this is something that can be franchised not just in New Jersey, but it could be in Sheboygan, it could be in Idaho, it could be in Kansas, like it could be wherever. So that's important. They've done all the branding, they've done all the trademarking, they've done all of that stuff. And most importantly, it's profitable, right? It's a profitable business. So when you or I decide to create something from scratch and try to do something on our own, we typically can't go to our competitors and ask for any kind of help when we get kind of stuck. But in a
Right.
franchise model, you can. And so you have this whole brain trust because everyone has a protected territory. And so everyone actually benefits when everyone is doing well in a franchise. And so if you're stuck or you're having issues, or, you're running into any kind of obstacles, the other franchisees are there to help you out and dig you out. and probably have run into that issue before. And then they're saying to you, okay, this is what I did. And if you're
Right.
smart, you listen and then you go, okay. But the ones that don't, and they've got a very large ego, they're the ones that go, I could do this. I've got it. And they tend to be the ones that flail around in a franchise.
Yeah. Well, those are the benefits. What's the cost?
What's the cost? The cost is for people that are not able to work in a system. So it can feel like a straitjacket. You're being told exactly what to do, how to do it, when to do it, why to do it, right? There was just in the news, the Hilton hotel system just had an entire very public situation. I don't know if you followed that at all. And a franchise did something against the Hilton hotel methodology, I guess you would say, and they were stripped of their license instantly, like within days. A,
Oh,
a giant piece of equipment came, took the name right off. They were taken out from the computer system, and so you have to follow what they're telling you to do.
right.
Also, if the management system is not that strong or they get bought by private equity, your lack of control is not there, right? Like you don't have a
Yeah.
say.
Yeah. Typically, what percent do the corporate companies take for
The
revenue?
royalty, so a
Yeah.
royalty average standard is tends to be around 7%. And my favorite franchises are the ones that actually roll it backward as you hit your revenue goals. Those are my favorite because I represent over 500 franchise concepts.
Yeah, but also like doing all the due diligence with the branding and being a franchise, say for Starbucks. There's so much small work that goes into getting all the equipment and the tools and the napkins and the utensils and the
Yeah.
chairs. And a lot of that is if you've got the capital and you just want to get started, there is an appeal towards a franchise. You're building on a true and trusted infrastructure. And 7% doesn't seem that bad. I mean, I know a lot of companies' profit margins are rather slim, but when you're building on a well-recognized brand, I mean, that sounds like a pretty good transaction.
Yeah.
You talk about how the franchise model can benefit 25% of college graduates. Can you tell me more about that?
Yes. So I have a son that's a senior in high school right now, and we're right in the middle of waiting for college application acceptances. And my daughter just graduated from college, and there's a huge swath of kids that don't have a job, and AI is not making it any easier for them.
Mm,
And so I'm really talking to families about thinking about, listen, if you don't want to sit there and plunk $200,000 away for a college education that at the end we have no idea what's there on the other side for them,
yeah,
think about a business because if you yourself as a parent were in business, you can be the eyes and the ears and the background of it, guiding them, being that wise, you know, Sherpa to help guide them through this and helping them. And now it becomes a legacy play. And so it is something that I am talking to a lot of families about across the country.
yeah. What are some of the greatest challenges, and what are some of the reasons why they fail? I know you mentioned ego, but aside for ego, what are some of the technical milestones and hurdles that franchises or newly born franchises fail to meet?
Wow, that's a long conversation. So if they did not do their proper due diligence to understand their competition and to understand what I always say to a brand new franchise, it's called an emerging franchise, is what's your why? Like, why you? Why am I showing you? Why is someone going to be interested? Let's say it's a painting concept. All right, I've got 12 painting concepts in my inventory. What are you doing differently? Right. And I start listening for what their differentiators are. And if I hear buzzwords like, we've got a great culture and, we do things better. Like I need concrete thing,
Right,
in-house call center. What are you doing to help get them above the competition? What is maybe the name is much better or stronger, but what's the why? Do they have proprietary equipment? Is there
right.
something that is different and not just different for different sake, but that they've watched the industry and then they've found a concrete reason for being better and that they can prove that out. All right, now I'm listening. But if you're just a run of the mill thing that's the same as everybody else, like right now, golf simulation is the big thing. Every other concept now is a golf simulator. Okay, I'm bored. Like what? Like, you've already got golf simulation companies that were already out there 2 years in advance, and they've already got the run on this. But let's say you worked for one of those golf simulator companies and you found a whole bunch of holes in their business model, and now you're going to make it better. Okay, I'm willing to listen to that, right? But some
Yeah.
companies are just like, yeah, I just want to have my own. I don't really have anything different. I don't see much success with that. Like,
It's like
current.
trends and culture. And I'm sure there's certain words you hear, keywords that, again, you mentioned that just tip you off because you see how they start and you know how they end. And when you hear the starting words of a bad ending, you probably just want to avoid it altogether.
Yeah, and it's just like, it's literally it's just boring. Like, that's what I would say. I'm going to Miami next week for a conference, and I'll be in front of 50 different brands. And a lot of them, I'm just gonna be like, ho hum, next, next, next. And then I'll hear one and I'll be like, what? Tell me more about that. Why? Oh, okay. All right. That's interesting. That grabbed my attention. Retention rates. Like, what? Give me concrete information about why you were successful and why your investors, your potential investors are, they will tend to be more successful as well. Because this is hard. It's not easy.
Right. But I imagine some of the skills you need to start a company aren't wildly different than the skills you need to run a successful franchise. And if there are differences, I'm curious where they're specifically different in the realm of franchises.
The biggest area is being able to follow a system and process. So if you're too entrepreneurial, you're too much of a maverick out there needing to do your own thing the way that you want to do it, you're not going to do well in a franchise. Like, it's
Is it like
just not.
boring better kind of situation here where if you're good, disciplined at following rules and executing them effectively, like that's the model for you?
Yeah. Like, military veterans do exceedingly well in the franchise
Oh,
model
that's interesting.
because they are told what to do, how to do it, and that's it. And they take the playbook and they run with it. And then I have serial entrepreneurs that they've already been there, done that. They've gone through all of the birthing process of creating their own thing. And they're like, yeah, I have no interest in doing that ever again. And so they're perfectly content with a franchise and going into it, knowing exactly what needs to be done and making it successful.
You graduate college here and you want to start a business, perhaps brick and mortar, and you're like, hey, do I do a franchise or do I build my own brand? Is there like a checklist that you recommend they go through to determine whether a franchise is good for them?
So I have a business assessment that I give my clients that actually help them to figure out like what kind of culture fits for them, what they're motivated by, whether or not they would make a good business owner or a franchise owner. So that's something that I go through with my clients, and I have them take that because that can chuck out a whole bunch of red flags right from the beginning. But what I say is that if you don't have anyone helping you and you don't have the experience yourself, like, let's go to that college graduate, you don't have someone. You've got this chunk of money. You're going to have a safer bet with a bank trying to get a loan through the SBA with a franchise than trying to do it yourself because the bank is now betting on
Right.
you and you're not a proven person, right? But if it's a franchise, they're already familiar with it. That franchise has to go through an auditing process every year with their numbers. There's a lot that goes on with the SBA lending. So right there out of the gate, you're already in a better position because
Right.
how are you going to pay for this? How are you going to fund this? That's the biggest question that people always come to me on. Like, how am I going to pay for this? I'm like, yeah, that's a big one. So, and a lot of people don't have, and I think that's the other issue, Michael. A lot of people don't have their own idea, right? Like, I was just going through some notes. I was cleaning up for the end of the year and I'd come up with a game idea back 6 years ago and I wrote up a whole bunch of notes about it. I never executed on it. I'm like, it's such a shame. There are people that are out there that they just they have a glimmer of something, but then they don't execute or they've got nothing. They have no idea.
Yeah. an
but they wanna
idea
be
is like 0% of the process. I mean,
yeah,
and it's a lot longer of a journey when you're starting everything from scratch rather than building
yes,
on existing infrastructure.
correct.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, that
it
all
just
makes
it
sense.
lightens the load, that's what I would say, it lightens the load. It doesn't make it infallible, that's not happening, but it lightens the load and your chance for success are stronger and they are greater.
Yeah, that makes sense. So, what do you see looking forward for your company?
For my company, 2026 here, I think that right now I'm a solopreneur and I've had my business for 5 years, and I'm starting to think about maybe adding on additional people with me and training them and helping bring them on so that I can kind of teach my way and my methodology of doing things. I'm very much about doing things the right way and helping people, not hurting them. And in the franchise world, just like any other industry, there's good, bad, and ugly. And I'm really on a mission to get out more of the good and helping people and not hurting people. So if I had a team that could then be out there doing that same thing on my behalf, I think that would be a good thing.
How can people get in touch with you, Lisa?
So all of my social media is at Milestone Franchising, my company name, and they can reach out right through there. That assessment that I mentioned is right on my website that they can take for free. They get the results immediately, and then I'm happy to also go through those results with them. And something I always fail to mention, Michael, is that people pay me nothing for my services. So I'm
Mm.
like an executive recruiter that if they land with a franchise concept, I get compensated by the franchise. And if they
Oh, wow.
don't, they get to learn from me, they get to be educated about this, and then we go our separate ways if we decide that this is not what they should be doing.
That's very interesting. Well, that's great. And it was honestly a pleasure talking. I've kind of learned a lot. It's not normally my specific niche, so it's always great to get information that's really outside my natural ecosystem. So thank you
Beautiful.
for that.
Well, thank you very much for the time.
Yes.